Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's hump day right here, the Rocci Stucci Show. Welcome each and every one of you. I love you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. We're getting our ass kicked. A lot of snow. Let's go. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid all this weather. It seems like anywhere in the country you go, you just can't avoid the damn stuff, man. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. I appreciate you. Thank you all so much for being here. The Emotional Meatball, Rocci Stucci, StucciMedia.com, STUCCI, StucciMedia.com. I'm pretty proud of the damn site. Get on over there, check out the podcast. If you're an advertiser, if you're a writer, and you like to get some exposure, and you like some articles published, go ahead and contact me at Rocci@StucciMedia.com. Rocci@StucciMedia.com, and we'll get your ass taken care of. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I got my microphone fixed, and now I'm super loud in my ear. There we go. That's a lot better. Man, we're getting snowed in right here in Florida. It seems like I go to Texas, and we get snowed in Texas. It seems like I go to freaking Florida, we get snowed in Florida. I try to avoid Minnesota to avoid the storm, and they still got the damn storm. It's kind of suspicious, man. I'm just, I'm not trying to go there, but I'm going there. You know what I mean? Everything is kind of suspicious. This whole weather thing is just suspicious. So we're going to actually kind of cover that a little bit. I got some information here, some history of some weather in the United States. And then we're going to go over, because, when you guys heard me talk to Big Rich the other night on the broadcast, if you didn't see it, go onto the YouTube channel and watch that. It's funny as shit, man. It wasn't a show. It was just us. It was, so it wasn't a professional broadcaster. You know what I just did? I just checked my sound. See what happened? I got messed up from yesterday. But yeah, go on there and check that out with me and Rich. We're just joking around and having a good time. But he brought something up, we were talking about those nanobots and all those weird things, the fog. I'm not familiar with it. I haven't done a shit ton of research on it yet, but there's that smart fog stuff going around. And I don't know, man. I guess I didn't jump in that rabbit hole. I was kind of nervous too. I don't know why I didn't. Tell you the truth, I don't know why. I just didn't. I guess I'm getting a little burnt out of every other freaking day. There's a new conspiracy, but there's these nanoparticles or whatever it may be. I'm speculating. Allegedly, whatever, all that stuff. Good morning, Deb. What's going on, girl? Deb says that they have snow in Cedar Parks, Texas. Good morning, Miss Mary Mansfield. What was I saying? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, we're talking about the fog, so we'll get in that in the second half. And I know we talked about it in the past in some other shows, but some of the experiments that were done in the United States on the American people. So, the reason I bring that up is when we talk about the smart fog stuff, right? It's not way out there, it's not way out there as a thought. It's not that much of a conspiracy theory. It just, I don't know what else to say about that. It could be real, it could be real. All right. So what I want to do, let me minus this out. Cause this shit is wild, man. When I moved down to, where is it? This one right here. When I moved down to, God, that was badass. You see that? Did you see that merge? You see that? When I moved down to Texas, it was really weird for me because most of my life, I was born on the east side of St. Paul. So I'm a straight, full-blooded east sider. It's a big thing, man. I should get a tattoo that says badass east sider. But born and raised for a short time till fifth grade. And then we went out to New York. And New York gets a lot of snow. Lake effect snow. I was up in Syracuse, so we got the lake effect snow all the freaking time. As you can see in the screen here, too, I'm doing a screen share. What you're seeing right now is Lake Charles, Louisiana. It looks like it froze up. Oh, here, let me actually hit the... I'm going to make sure the volume is off, and I'll hit play there. But yeah, so this here, he's showing a clip right now of Lake Charles. God, look at that. That's unbelievable. There's New Orleans, Louisiana. It's still snowing in Louisiana. Now, the problem is a lot of these southern states, yeah, they get snow every once in a while. And I made a big deal out of it when I first moved down to Texas. When I witnessed that, it was just a couple inches. And when I was referencing New York and growing up in Minnesota is because most of my life, I grew up in major snow and major cold. I've seen storms where it dropped 3 feet of snow up in Syracuse, literally 3 feet. Boston gets it all the time. It's second nature. Then you go down to the southern state. There's a lot of things that even people up north, they're not really kind of like in line, man. They're really, really not in line in regards to what the weather is like down south. And it's kind of like Ron Phillips. No, it wasn't Ron Phillips. It was somebody else. I think it was one of the guys that worked for me at Lockheed. He never left the state of Texas. That's cool. I mean, the state of Texas, kind of technically, it's its own state. I mean, its own country. So you can kind of say that, not leaving the state of Texas it's not that big of a deal because it's so big, But he's never experienced the snow. He's never even seen the 4 seasons. And I don't know, man. I don't like the cold. I don't like it. I can't. I got so much metal in my body. But I think a lot of you can attest to what I'm saying here is that there is something, when we can put the ugliness of the world aside and just for a few seconds, like in the fall, right? I'm not a big fan of spring because it's just mucky and gross. I like the new life. But, when we talk about spring and all the beauty of all the new things growing, there's also a whole bunch of nasty shit and salt and mud and messes. It's just a bunch of messes. It didn't work. I was going for the full, but it didn't work. What are we talking about, Deb? What'd you do? Yeah, I don't know why I'm showing these two guys here. It looks like they're staring at me and they're watching me. I'm going to get them off my screen. Kind of stressing me out a little bit. So, the one thing that Minnesotans don't know is what people, so when people hear about the weather south and they hear people freak out, and they're just like, it's freezing. It's, 70 degrees. I'm guilty of shit, man. It's 70 degrees and I'm cold as shit now. I never used to be. I would walk around in sandals and no socks when 50 degrees up north. My mom does it. My mom, there could be snow on the ground. My mom will go outside in her sandals. When I came down to Texas, and it was right before that snowstorm hit about 4 years ago. And I didn't understand what I was seeing because, for one, I was just like, well, what about the plows? You guys, they didn't have plows down there. Okay. So, you start asking, what's the concerns? Why is everybody freaking out so terribly? And so it's just, there's a lot of things structurally that isn't supportive towards these type of weather conditions. Now, we can sit here and play politics all we want because I did when the storm first hit. When it first hit in Texas, I was just like, this don't make sense because it don't matter where anybody is on the planet. Historically, especially if anybody who follows like Randall Carlson or anybody, you hear about the geological changes of the planet. Is that right? Did I say that right? Am I saying, is that the right word? But you know what I'm saying. So you monitor, historically, water and ice and glaciers and asteroids and fires and just these different things that have changed throughout history. And nothing, I don't understand why people think that everything is like this guarantee and everything's locked in. Like the earth is always going to be in its axis that it's spinning now, that nothing could ever possibly happen, that asteroids could never hit the planet, that they just think that all these things can't happen. They're too comfortable. Literally, if this earth shifted just a little bit left or right or up or down or whatever it may be, it could be catastrophic. What am I saying again? I keep looking at the stupid news in front of me and looking at the freaking car accidents on the screen. It's driving me. I shouldn't be doing this because I got ADHD. You shouldn't have a monitor in front of you with live news on it with the snowstorms. But structurally speaking, in places like Texas, and I'm learning a little bit about Florida, they're not prepared. And yeah, man, I was a little perturbed because I was just like, why do you think that you're safe? Does Mother Nature, is there a certain line somewhere in Oklahoma that says you can't go past this? I just didn't understand that. And so even when they're building, because I remember it was like the second day out of the whole long 3 days that Texas was shut down. It was like the second day. And there was apartment buildings and businesses that had water coming out, 12 stories up because of the water lines busted. This is commercial buildings, and they use PVC and they use plastic down south. I didn't know that. Up north, everybody uses copper. But here's the thing, man. Nobody knows to drive. Nobody knows how. Here, I'm going to transfer this over again. Nobody knows how to drive in this weather. God, I love that merge part. And so when we have this explains why.
Really not a lot of streets that are what you would call passable out here. Almost all of them.
You know how many people I know that would be driving on that?
More ice on them than anything else. And as a result of that.
So that's another thing, too, in regards to being down south, is that a lot of people, it's shit, man. There's a lot of people up north, their asses don't know how to drive in snow and ice. Every single year, the first snow up in Minnesota, there's 300, 400, 500 accidents. It's like we forget, but down south, they go years without having to readjust their driving. And I think, honestly, I did a little psychological, trying to understand why people in Dallas and Fort Worth drive so psychotic. And then you start understanding it's not really so much Dallas, Fort Worth. It's a lot of these big southern. It's because they don't get snow. They don't get reset. You know what I mean? They don't get that punch in the face every year that's going to slow them down on the roads. And then, in the springtime, everything starts to melt. July, you start getting a little reckless. August comes. September, October, here comes the snow. So by the time you start getting Dallasified, or Texasified driving, you're getting reset. And a lot of people down south, they don't get reset. So when you start looking at what they're talking about here, let me turn this back up. When you start looking at this shit,
so it is very difficult to make your way around.
So a lot of people don't even know what black ice is, but they don't know what to look for when it comes to black ice.
That there were a couple of roads that were deemed impassable, and so it just kind of gives you a picture of how. So
to all my friends up north, the reason why now when we look at this, everybody up north is looking at this. They're like, well, what's the problem? Unpassable. They don't understand that language. Unpassable. They don't have the proper equipment down here to handle snow and ice. They don't. One major city may have had an little extra money and maybe have gotten a sand truck, but they don't have the plows. And what they do in Dallas is they spray chemical on the highway a couple days before it freaking snows, and that's the best they got. That's the best they got is to spray some freaking chemicals on the highways. I don't know the effectiveness of it. I don't really even know what it is. But I do know that, man, you start getting this black ice shit, it's weird, right? But my thing is this. And why am I talking about weather? Because why would somebody talk about weather? I'm glad I'm not at the airport. I'm glad I'm not at the freaking airport.
Cancellations. Those are flights today in and out of Hartsfield, Jackson, and then along with 273, almost 200.
So yeah, so even the airports.
That's what's happening right now.
Even the airports aren't prepared for this. So now they're talking about, right now we have it on the screen, major winter storms hit several states. Winter weather flight impacts Hartsfield Jackson International Airport. Hartsfield. So yeah, that's an obvious though. I mean, it's the South. They don't have plows. They're not ready for the snow. They probably don't even have de-icers. If you've ever been up north during the wintertime, you ever see the planes get de-iced with that chemical? It's pretty wild to see that shit. And then you're like, I'm going to go up in the air now. After you just sprayed all that shit on my face? Debbie says, Texas needs more sand. Amarillo, Texas is the panhandle. They have, what? So, and that's what I learned too. So that's another thing. So Florida has a panhandle. I think they call it that, or they call it something. But so does Texas. Now, the Texas panhandle, every freaking year, apparently, because I go, is there anywhere you go skiing around here? And they're like, in Texas, they're like, well, yeah, you can ski in the panhandle. So the panhandle, everybody knows what that is. It's kind of like the cutover when you're cutting across to get into New Mexico and all that shit. But they get hammered. And I think a lot of it has to do with it's like where they are, inland, and it has to do, because of the tornadoes and shit. That's kind of where all that shit starts too, It's kind of weird. That whole area is kind of goofy. And then that kind of the same areas where they do that rattlesnake roundup shit All right, let's see what this guy is saying here. We have a reporter out on the road right now,
An
folks.
unprecedented, record-breaking snowstorm here in the Sunshine State. We actually just passed the Capitol building. We're now heading northbound on Monroe Street, and conditions are kind of what you'd expect.
I got something.
You know, we don't have the infrastructure across the Sunshine State to handle such a major winter storm. This
Oh,
would be a
bro,
major
you know,
storm
hey, you know what? Here.
anywhere in the country, but especially.
Oh, okay. If Fox, you guys just hire me. I just said that shit. I just gave the breakdown that you don't have it structurally to handle. I'm still stuck at the first words I heard, though. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at this historical record snowfall." I'm joking, right? I'm being sarcastic. I'm being an asshole, right? But it's a big deal to people down here. And I am being sincere and empathetic, man, because they're not prepared for it. It's no different than somebody from Texas going up to Minnesota and then having to bunker down for a winter. I mean, that's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. And they just don't have the know-how or the understanding of how to survive and live, And so it's just a difference in culture. And that's why conversations are really important, because how are we supposed to know? How many people know that the longest running Black Catholic church in the United States is actually located in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and it was established in the 1700s? Because to some people up north, I'm just saying, to some people up north, for some reason, they think that slavery was invented in the South, and some people actually think there's people that still own slaves in the South. So if you went and told them that there was a Catholic church, it actually was officialized as a Catholic church, I think, in the early 1800s. But it was as a running Catholic church, or practicing to be Catholic church. It was Catholic, Christian, with a Black pastor the entire time, still to this day. And it kind of pissed me off a little bit, because when I went down there last summer to see it, it was beat up and run down. And it was, to me, that's major historical relevance. It's like, that's incredible. Imagine the stories just from that one location, that church. Horrifying stories, I'm sure. There's some, yes, absolutely. But imagine the stories of things that we, to this day, in our modern time, we have a misunderstanding of the entirety of life down in the South. Because it seems like the only thing the entire world focuses on is, like the United States is like the home of the effing slaves. It's just, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. So the more you spend time down south, and yeah, I'm not trying to deflect away from bad things that happen, but I also have the understanding that not everything that happened was bad. So we can't continue to sit here and look at the history of this country as, bad, because it wasn't, right? Amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. So in regards to this record information, folks, where's Roger Rabbit, by the way? I haven't seen him yet. Is he here? If he's not, his ass is going to be in some trouble. Let me put this over here. Let's see here. Debbie says, Mary says, it's human arrogance. We think everything is always going to be the way it's. What's really weird? We do think that, Mary. We think that everything's always going to be the way it was programmed to be. It's like winter starts here and winter ends here. During the summer, this is the weather. And during the winter, this is the weather. Daytime, nighttime, right? So we become so robotic. And I don't know. I think it's just kind of like our brain, just kind of weird like that. I think we're like routines. There's something about routines that humans find comfort in. And, but that's the problem. That's the problem is that once we get comfortable in the routine, we fight like a son of a bitch to keep that bastard. You know what I'm saying? We fight like a son of a bitch to keep that routine, because we don't want that shit broken. And if it does, it destroys us. It ruins our day. Like something I know people that are very, what is that? Is it a condition? What's that condition? Where it like a hypochondria? No, is it hypochondria? Where everything has to be like perfect. And everything has to be in place. What is that called? Let me look over the chat. What is that called? That's called, somebody help me. But, if you have those type of people that have OCD, that have OCD. I had a boss that had OCD, and I was an asshole. You know, I'm starting to realize a lot of things in my life that I've done to people that was kind of piece of shit stuff. You know what I mean? Like this dude had OCD, and I found great enjoyment every single day going in and just slightly moving shit on his desk. To this day, he still doesn't know it was me. And I watched him lose his shit. I would sit there and watch him accuse other people of fucking with his shit. And no, it was me the whole time. I was sitting in his office while he was asking and questioning people and accusing people of doing it. I just sat there, had my cup of coffee, my legs crossed, sitting on the couch. That wasn't me. Bro, I think it's messed up, bro. Yeah. Autism is awesome. Think about autism, though. What's up, Micah? Think about autism. Is that autism can go right to the extreme. You know, the second, like with autism, the second anything goes, like my middle boy, when he was younger, noises triggered him. He always had to have the headset on. There's certain things like that that were overwhelming to him. So they didn't know how to handle it. You know, and that's the hardest part with autism is that, you know, the more extreme cases of autism is that when there's trigger moments like that, and they don't have that person there that knows how to kind of handle that, it can get really bad, man. They can have those I want to say attack, it wasn't an attack, but they can have those outbreaks, you know, where they freak out. And, you know, my son did it a few times. And I remember the school, they wanted our permission to hold him down if you ever had an episode. And I said, you ain't holding shit down. You ain't touching my son, you know? I get that there's some extreme cases out there, but that wasn't my son, and no dumbass teacher is going to be doing that shit, especially when my kids are coming home trying to tell me that Obama was a great president, and they're in freaking pre-K. Yeah, I said it. I did say it. But here, so when the reporter was talking about all this stuff, the record-breaking snow in Florida, just a quick little detail. I pulled this up right before the show. I did pull up some notes. I did. Thank you. It says, key details for the snowfall total so far. Western Panhandle is expected to receive 3 to 4 inches of snow in totality. That's just physical snow. That's not the water. If we would do the calculation on that, it's about 7 inches of snow per inch of water. So that could have been 21 inch total if that was rain. Why did I do that for? It makes no sense. All right. So part of the Eastern Panhandle is forecasted to get 2 to 3 inches. Why would they even do that? Why don't they just say the Panhandle is estimated to get 2 to 4 instead of saying that the Western Panhandle is 3 to 4 and the Eastern is 2 to 3? Why don't we just say the whole damn thing is 2 to 4? We make it super simple that way. You know what I'm saying? We can save some time in typing, production, thought process, all that shit, bro. Across the southern United States, including parts of Florida, 4 to 8 inches of snow have been reported in some areas. Now that's a big deal. 4 to 8 inches of snow. And so, like, I seen a guy post a video in Mississippi. He probably had 4 inches. I don't know how I know that, but I know. It's just wild to see this. Now, my thing is because after that, and Deb, you know this shit, after that storm in Texas, there was things that never recovered, like wildlife things and certain types of plants and palm trees. There's still palm trees that are still dead after 4 years later that were in Texas that they got hit by the storm. And I think, it went under freezing for like 3 or 4. I don't know how to take care of palm trees. I don't know how tough they are. You know, they obviously can't grow in up north type of shit, you know? So I don't know how long a palm tree can be, you know, in this type of weather before it's no longer palmy, you know? Before it's no longer palmy. I need my duck, Deb. I need my duck. But state of emergency. Now, Florida Governor DeSantis, he's declared a state of emergency in response to the storm as the snowfall is expected to disrupt travel and daily activities. You know what I'm saying? Like, people probably don't know that part. So we should probably do an SOS and say, hey, by the way, your daily activities are going to get fucked up somehow. We don't know, but it's going to be snow. So just try to go to the grocery store once and go try to buy a gallon of milk. That's another thing I don't understand during these storms is we kind of knew about this shit for a while. I'm just saying, we knew that there was a potential about 10 days ago that we're going to kind of go through this Arctic blast. 5 days ago, we were a lot more confident about it. 3 days ago, we were 100% confident it was happening. But yet people wait till the day of the storm to go to Walmart or to go to Home Depot or to go get whatever they think they'll need. If they needed to bunker down for a few days, whether it be candles, batteries, flashlights, they always wait till the day of. What is it about the human beings that they cannot say, wow, shit's going to get crazy here. Stores are going to be wild. Why don't we go ahead of time when it's not busy and they still got shit? Why don't we do that? Oh, never mind. Because you may be labeled like a prepper. You know, if you go buy extra batteries an extra few days early before a storm, you don't want to be labeled a prepper. Mary Mansfield says prepping for emergencies at the very last minute is a time. Fuck, that's a fact, man. And so we didn't have, like in Minnesota, Mary, we didn't have this type of chaos during storms. We just didn't. I'm trying to think what kind of storms in Minnesota that would cause us. Because if we knew a blizzard was coming in, we just knew a blizzard was coming in. You know, we just knew it was hunker down time. That was it. You know, it's that how we're, perception, right? What's our reality? And that's our reality. So they live there. They know, they're prepared. They're good. Down here, it's so stupid. And I was just transferring down here. You guys remember that? I was staying in the hotel and I needed food. I had no food. And so I was trying to find stores everywhere. And then I finally found a Walmart that finally opened back up after like a day and a half after the storm started. Even the Walmarts couldn't open up. That's how bad it was. It was pretty bad, I guess. And I'm going to tell you, when I went in there, it was like it's like I was in a movie. And I'm starting to realize something, that a lot of movies that we have watched over the last 10, 15 years has almost been some kind of like subliminal preparation because of the storms, the UFO. It seems like every fucking movie title and every narrative, the end of the world shit, the apocalyptic shit, the weathers, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the volcanoes, the earthquakes. It seems like everything just happens all the time now, all the time. And I'm not talking about we're just more aware. I'm saying shit is really happening all the time, more than usual. Like things are super weird. And I'm really going to get pissed if we start to find out that, these people that have been playing God, even though we've been attacked as conspiracy theorists all these years about them spraying the skies. I'm going to tell you something, man. They've been spraying so damn much. I've never seen in my life the amount that they've been spraying lately. And it's kind of weird not to get kind of conspiratorial when you see this weather the way it is, and you see these storms the way they are, and you see fires the way that they are, and you see, floods the way they are, and hurricanes. 2 hurricanes and a tropical storm in the exact same area in a month and a half. That's not normal, man. That's not, so we can say snow never touches Texas. Okay, well, it did. Right? So it's that thing that, you get comfortable, but you can't never get too comfortable. But I'm just saying that this is all just a little too weird. And my biggest concern, I was just thinking about this the other night too. What happens? What happens if they play God bullshit and all this shit they pack the skies with? And the skies are packed and the atmosphere is packed full of all these different chemicals because, apparently, and it has nothing to do with fucking global warming. I'm so sick of that word. I'm so sick of it. I am. I'm just so sick of that fucking word. I swear, this is me speculating. This is me allegedly saying, right? To me, it's all weaponry. It's all weaponry, and there's data out there to prove it. There's patents out there to prove it. There's experiments that have happened to prove it. There's so much information out there to prove that this can be used as weaponry. It can be used as weather modification, and weather modification was never created or invented, to me, I don't think, because droughts and wildfires, hey, let's drop water wherever we can just by, hitting a couple buttons and pushing some frequencies over here and there. I honestly believe, because we did it in Vietnam, I honestly believe that the modification of weather, the sole purpose behind it was to use it as a weapon, because if you can control weather, if you can control weather, I don't know of any type of ammunition or system that can fight against weather So your enemy is your enemy, and you have the ability to either, create an earthquake, like hurricane style type of shit. You have the ability to drop temperatures and make blizzards. How do you fight against that? You wouldn't even need to send a troop in. You wouldn't even need to send a soldier in or even a drone. Because I have a feeling that's the future of warfare too, is drones. You just flood them out. I mean, what were we doing in Vietnam? We seeded the clouds during their tropical storms, and we literally turned parts of that country into fucking Great Lakes. We cloud seeded like a son of a bitch in Vietnam, and it was just like, well, okay. So if it's not being used for a weapon, then why aren't we cloud seeding more when there's fires? Why isn't it more of an open discussion? Because if it was to be used as the purpose that we're being sold it is, it would be an open discussion, and they would be cloud seeding in California to put out fires. And they'll come up with some bullshit excuse, you should see the video I got the other day of them spraying, right above my house. And it was crazy, the amount of, they're not X's anymore. It's like 2 or 3 X's stacked. Multiple lines now, and the patterns, they're not even hiding the patterns anymore. Remember they used to just be lines? Oh, no, now they're doing like curves and crosshatches and angles, and it's just, they're not even hiding the fact that they're spreading this now. Like they come up with better ways, like they've come up with better ways. So while we're on that note, everybody over there, because as long as we're talking about this, I want to get over to some of these experiments. But state of emergency, southern United States, everybody please be safe, man. Seriously, please be safe. Snowfall in Florida, extremely rare. Measurable snow occurring only a handful of times in record history. For example, Tallahassee has seen measurable snow only 8 times since 1891. Wow, fuck. 8 times since 1891. So almost just one time, maybe every 11 years. That's pretty crazy, though. But the National Weather Service has issued warnings for snow and ice in the Panhandle, with snowfall rates reaching 1 inch per hour in some areas. Yeah, it's pretty wild. That's pretty crazy, man. Let me pull this up here really quick, though. Okay, so when I was talking with Big Rich, a discussion came up about the fog. This is all kind of related. See how the show just came together? You're talking about the snowstorms and fog and chemicals. He was talking, and I never heard of the specific one he was talking about, because I was thinking of the one that, we always talk about. I can't remember that right now. But I stayed away from this new conspiracy thing that's going around right now, or allegedly the fog that we're breathing, that we're seeing rolling into cities. And I've seen video of it. There was a guy, and I think I might have even saved it. He did a drone. When the fog rolled in, what he did was he droned above the fog. He droned above the fog, and it was fucking creepy, because it was beautiful blue skies above this shit. It was just like, what's producing that then, right? Because we don't produce this fog, warm ground, cold air, warm air, cold ground, all that shit. We get it. But what we're witnessing, it looks like a sandstorm. That's what it looks like. It looks like a fucking sandstorm. It's not a regular fog. That movie? See, there it is, another fucking Hollywood movie. The Fog movie. Where the fog rolled in and everybody was fucked? You couldn't go outside? They were stuck in the grocery store? That's probably a good place to be stuck. Maybe you fight weather modification with more weather modification. Could you imagine that, though, Mary? Weather modification against weather modification. Could you imagine use your imagination. The worst thing that can happen when you get 2 idiots who are playing God, and they're sitting here trying to create shit over here, while these dumbasses over there are trying to create shit over there, and then all of a sudden that's just going to it's going to be like that movie with Mark Wahlberg where he was the fisherman, The Storm, or whatever the movie that was. It's going to be so insane that these systems are all going to meet up at the same spot, and probably show havoc this planet has never seen before, except, when the aliens came to kill all the dinosaurs. Did I say that? By the way, folks, StucciMedia.com, StucciMedia.com. Get your asses over there. I'm doing podcast packaging. I'm doing graphics. Anything that you need in regards to anything media, let me know, man. I'm your one-stop shop for everything. It's StucciMedia.com, and my email is Rocky@StucciMedia.com. I love you. I appreciate you, but let's get to this. I have a list here. I also have a list here of movies that the CIA was involved with for propaganda. Oh my goodness, it sure was. Okay, so this morning it all started out by me. I want to write an article in regards to the SpongeBob, and I can't remember who it was that told me about the SpongeBob deal. It might have been Thomas Becker. Whoever it was, I need a little bit more information on the direction to go, where to find it, because I might have been using the wrong language. I don't know if it was a CIA program. I don't know what kind of program it was. But whoever it was, let me know, because I need to. Yeah, remember? Yes, Deb. Yes. So the China weather balloon. That's another thing. Yeah, this mysteriously, the China weather balloon, is this here? It's so weird, man, how you start looking back at all this stuff, man. It's just like, this ain't normal. Nothing is normal. And then China goes in, I think it was like the 1930s or 1940s, they shot rockets into the air in clouds, and they're shooting off the silver iodine in the clouds from the ground, but they shot too much. And they created a blizzard and killed a whole shit ton of their people. They created a blizzard. Look it up. Just go look it up. China creates stone blizzard back in like the 40s, seeding clouds. That's what they did. They shot the fucking rockets up from the ground. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I started kind of doing the SpongeBob thing. And so I found light information on that. And we'll cover that as soon as I get a little bit more information. But it was referring to a lot of things that happened to a child by watching SpongeBob. This was the psychological report and the implications of child development. That's where I ended up, man. It wasn't going to North conspiracies. That's where I was looking for. But it was actually eye-opening, because I didn't realize the amount of cartoons that created stress and disconnect. That's one of the biggest things that SpongeBob did. It created stress and disconnect. It made people feel isolated. And that's what I want to know more of. I don't want to speculate on that. I want to know why. What is it about it? Because Patrick played a big deal. Every character in there was specific. And they broke this shit down. It was just like, damn. You know what I mean? What? Because I love SpongeBob, man. And I don't want to sit here and think that some of my malfunctions is because Patrick's my favorite character. I love Patrick. I'd hang out with the dude. Like, I would literally like buy property next to his ass and just go loaf around with one of those nets and go catch one of those starfish, butterflies. Anyways, so yeah, let's cover that. I definitely want to. I love Patrick too. Patrick is a pretty badass dude. So I actually started writing an article about that, but I didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it in my soul. You know what I mean? But so what I did, I was just like, let's go next level. Let's go the history, okay, this is the shows. Okay, I got to find, right, the history of, right here. So I even have a history of TV shows that were used for propaganda. We'll cover that. Maybe we'll cover that tomorrow. But I have it here. I have the information. I'm ready to go with it, man. I'm ready to go. But in front of me, history of these CIA experiments on United States citizens. We're going to go there right now. And number one, this is probably the one that you hear the most of, which is the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. And just really quick, the United States Public Health Service conducted a 40-year-long study of 600 African-American men in Alabama, 399 of whom had syphilis. The men were told they were receiving free health care, but they were not treated for syphilis, even after penicillin became widely available in the 1840s. And what was the purpose of this? Researchers wanted to study the natural progression of untreated syphilis. Okay, cool. So you go get, why black men? You know what I'm saying? Why black men? So you go get black men who had syphilis. You tell them that you're going to give them, this is so fucking government. You tell them that you're going to give them free health care so you can do your little bullshit pussy ass study on them and not even treat them for what they agreed upon for this study. You know, it's just like, wow, when have we ever not been a piece of shit in this country? You know, I mean, my goodness, man, I understand that we need to learn and we need to evolve. And there's a lot of people that are looking for the COVID vaccine. Look at how many people are willing to step the fuck up for that, you know, to be a part of the lab rats, you know, the experiments. A lot of people are willing to do it. So to sit here and to lie to people and to tell them that you're going to do it, and then you don't really do it, you're just kind of, it's just like, yeah, we suck, man. Number 2, again, another super, super famous one, and I think still in action today, is MKUltra. The CIA conducted secret experiments on United States citizens to explore mind control, often without participants' knowledge. Techniques involved administering LSD, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and psychological manipulation. What? No, get out. The purpose aimed to develop methods of interrogation and behavior modification during the Cold War. Pay your taxes, bitches. Just pay your taxes and shut up. What do they call that in Hunger Games? Ward 9? What do they call the different is it sector? I think I'm in number 9. All right, number 3, the Guatemalan syphilis experiments. This was 1946 to 48. The United States researchers deliberately infected Guatemalan citizens, including prisoners, soldiers, and psychiatric patients, with syphilis and other sexually transmitted diseases without their consent. The researchers wanted to study the effectiveness of penicillin in treating STDs. Why do they not? That's my question, though, in all sincerity. Why do they not ask for consent? What's the big? Okay, so if you have a sexually transmitted disease, I'm sure you want that shit going. I mean, you ain't want no popping blisters on your balls. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody comes and says, I don't know if it's going to work, I really don't know what's going to happen, tell you the truth, but it's a better result than what you have right now. So do you want to try it or no? You know, it's like most of them would say, yeah, absolutely, of no charge. If it could help them, yes, absolutely. Do you realize how many people right now that are so willing to do experimental, like for Alzheimer's and like these diseases that play major impacts in life, but they won't even let us do experiments. For some reason, we got to wait 15 years for these trials. It's just like, what? This is the procedural shit I'm talking about. And I understand data and I understand studies, but I also understand that if somebody wants to sign a piece of paper and say, I understand that there's risks involved, I understand that you don't have no long-term studies, you did the same shit to the entire world with COVID, so why can't the single person independently make that decision for themselves? So if there's an experimental drug out there by an independent company, doesn't matter who they are, if that person says, I want to try that treatment, then they should absolutely, without asking daddy's permission, have that treatment. That's their fucking body. You know, we heard that for how long? My body, my choice bullshit, right? So when it comes to making choices about your health, is it still your body, your choice? Or do we got to listen to daddy? I don't know. I'm confused on when we have to be confident, independent people and when we need to be complacent robots. It's confusing to me. Like Wednesdays, we're confident because of someday. And Thursdays, we're back to the complacency. I think Wednesday's our day. I think Wednesday is Freedom Day for us. You know what I'm saying? So dumb. Operation Sea Spray. Now, what happened here? The United States Navy sprayed bacterial pathogens. It has the name of it here, but I'm not even going to attempt it, but I will attempt it. It's called Serratia marcescens. That was close. Marcescens. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Over the entirety of San Francisco to study the potential for biological warfare. Honest to God. And that was fog. That was fog. So United States Navy sprayed a bacteria pathogen over San Francisco to study the potential for biological warfare. So what they're doing here is the purpose of this is to determine how biological agents might disperse in a real world environment. That just pisses me off. It just pisses me off. You really want to get sick to your stomach, you go ahead and start researching some of the Bill Gates stuff and his little African lab rats. You know, we don't even talk about that. For some reason, we're having celebrations because people are posting memes on how much Bill Gates has donated to these organizations. So he's somehow some kind of global hero because he donates money. Okay, cool. Why don't we talk about the amount of fucking children that are dead because they were his lab rats, right? Black children, just saying, most of them. Most of his studies have been done in Africa, Anyways, before I get too upset about that. Number 5 is the Willowbrook hepatitis experiment. This was between the 1956 and 1970. That was kind of a long time. But researchers at Willowbrook State School, a facility for children with intellectual disabilities in New York, deliberately infected children with hepatitis to study the disease's progression and potential treatment. So what they're saying is that if you're a special needs child or if you have some kind of a disability, then you're less of a human and that you qualify to be treated as a lab rat. That's what these representatives are saying. These are what people of medicine were saying. This is what these doctors were saying. This is what these politicians were supporting. And this is what our military was doing. How do we seriously, how as a species do we look at ourselves every single day in the mirror and walk around confidently in our level of intelligence when the more we actually think about it, the stupider we are as a species? Really, I'm not being derogatory there. Think about it. I'm sick of the speeches, right? I'm sick of hearing you need to learn about history because that's a bunch of bullshit, right? How many catastrophic events have happened since even before Jesus, right? Since even before Jesus. We can't even learn from fucking World War II. We can't even learn from Vietnam. We can't learn from Iraq or Iran. We can't learn from the Korean War. We can't learn from the Civil War. We can't learn from the Revolutionary War. We can't learn from none of this shit. We can't learn from any of the other shit that has happened in history where millions of people have been massacred. We can't learn from it. So when we say learn from history, what the fuck do we mean? What the fuck are we even talking about? Or are we just talking shit? Are we just doing that whole thing? Let's pretend we're super smart, the whole learn from history, hoorah type of bullshit, because we don't learn from shit. Most people are fucking up from the stupid shit they did last week that they didn't learn from. Damn right, Micah, they're pieces of shit. Absolutely right, man. 100%. And I wish they're in front of me, man. I'm there. I understand now so many different things. I'm not bitter. I'm angry about a lot of things. I'm angry what's happened with my life. Yes, I'm angry about things, but I'm not bitter. I'm angry because I believed a lot in the stupidity in the world, man. And there's a lot of that bothers me, that I fell for this masquerade and a lot of different things. To fall into circles that are the biggest, fakest, hypocritical atmospheres you could ever be in. And it's just like, I'm sick of talking about people with this fake, sincerity. And it's just like, there's are good fucking people out there, man, that are really doing really good stuff. And we'll never know who they are. Yet we focus on the people that just talk shit, that never show the fuck up. Those are who we glorify. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man. That's why, when we talk about rules and right and wrong, it's like, on whose standard? On whose standard? Because I'll go into a corporation today and I'll flip that shit upside down. I will change every policy and every rule. I'll do what Trump's doing to our government right now with some of these corporations and their policies. All right, let's continue. We got about another 8 minutes. So we have the radiation experiments, 1940, 1970s. The United States government conducted numerous radiation experiments on unknowing citizens to study the effects on radiation exposure. Pisses me off. Pregnant women were given radioactive iron to study its effects on the fetus. They didn't know that shit, for the record. I just had to go back up and read that statement again. They were unaware. These pregnant women. It's fucking murder, man. Seriously. Really, let's start talking about it. Let's just stop playing this be careful what you say. Let's stop tiptoeing around everybody's fucking feelings. Because technically, if we want to sit here and recreate a perception on just right and wrong, no policies, no amendments, no daddies out there, no human gods out there telling us what's right and wrong. Let's just, as a person, as a good person, right and wrong, giving somebody a fucking pill who's pregnant that's packed full of radiation, and not to their knowledge, is a murderous act. That's what it is. I don't know. Somebody convinced me differently. Somebody convinced me differently. And fuck your science. That's where I'm at with that. So if we're going to get to a point where we're misleading humans, we play this fake integrity, this is the best place in the world, this and that and all this bullshit. We need to practice that. We need to practice that. I'm sick of the fucking policy writers always breaking the rules. It pisses me off. And people like you, people like me, we suffer and we pay for it. Financially, we pay for it. We pay for their corruption. We pay for these funerals. You know what I'm saying? The Vanderbilt University experiments. What happened? Over 800 pregnant women were unknowingly given radioactive iron during prenatal care at Vanderbilt University. And the purpose of this research wanted to study how radiation absorbed during pregnancy. Okay, so a similar experiment as the radiation experiments from 1940 to 1970s. But this is 1945 to 1949, where they just went to a university or a hospital, and they just gave 800 women that were pregnant radiation. Just, that's why I wonder, because in the hospital that my children were born, there was a huge rate of autism. So, you start wondering, what manufacturer did that come from? Why that lot? Is it this lot and maybe the next lot, there's not as many autistic cases? Why? But then when we ask these questions, we get shut down. We get silenced. We get told we're radicals. We get told we're conspiracy theorists. We get told all that bullshit. We get shut down. The truth always gets shut down. And it's like I'm kind of done with that. And so yesterday I'm going online, and what am I seeing online? All the Nazi bullshit already. It was one day. It was one day. He's been president, and we're already saturated with these psychopaths who I haven't seen in 4 years. And now they just came out of nowhere, and just like that, we're Nazis again. It's like, really? You must have learned from history. You know what I'm saying? You must have learned from history. Let's see. I'll try to kind of fly down here really quick. We have Operation Big Itch. What? Operation Big Buzz. Okay, what happened? The United States Army released millions of disease-free mosquitoes in Georgia and Florida to study the feasibility of using insects in biological warfare. Oh, Zika, 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 Zika virus. What? Holy shit. Yeah, I know. The test, it's to test the effect of various substances on human skin. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The purpose was to determine if mosquitoes could effectively deliver biological agents. Well, we know they can effectively deliver a lot of shit, Bill Gates, because you seem to be releasing millions of them every single year. That's not a conspiracy. Look it up. It's real. All right. The Holmesburg prison experiments. What happened? Inmates at Holmesburg Prison in Pennsylvania were subject to dermatological, I'm saying it wrong because my freaking mouth. You know what I'm saying. I was going to try to say it again, but I'm not. Experiments, including exposure to chemicals, radioactive substances, and dioxin. And that's an ingredient in Agent Orange. Dioxin is an ingredient in Agent Orange. And the purpose of this test was to test the effect of various substances on the skin. Okay, all right, good. Forced sterilizations. Now, actually, we go a bunch of different directions with this because Margaret Sanger, there's legal sterilization before World War II in the United States. Dads could bring their daughters to a corner store and get their daughters sterilized. That started here, and then went to Germany, for the record. So what happened? Under the guise of eugenics programs, tens of thousands of Americans, primarily poor people, people of color, and individuals with disabilities were sterilized without their consent. And the whole purpose is to improve the genetic quality of the population by preventing certain groups from reproducing, certain groups. So what group am I in? I wonder if I'm in the qualification group or not. What group are you in? Do you qualify to poop kids? Yeah, so that's what they did, man. That's pretty stupid. So ethical reform in response to experiments, you had the Nuremberg Code, 1947, a set of research ethics principles established in the aftermath of World War II, emphasizing informed consent, even though there's ones right above that these people weren't informed. When it's done by our own government, I don't give a shit what you sign. I don't care what they say. I don't care what it says online, because the story always seems to change. You know what I'm saying? It always seems to change. Another reform was the Belmont Reports, 1979, guidelines for ethical research involving human subjects, focusing on respect and justice. Okay? And then you have the Institutional Review Board, regulatory bodies established to oversee research proposals and ensure ethical standards are upheld. Now, here's something I just want to add. So we can have all these research boards. That's really great, right? But we have agencies right now in the United States that are responsible for our food that we're supposed to trust. And if we are as smart as we pretend to be, we'd really know that all the food that we're eating in this country is legitimate poison, and we continue to poison our food. We continue to make it worse. I don't even know when I go to the grocery store what's like real food anymore, what's not genetically modified, you know, what's not poisoned, you know, what don't have certain types of fucking needles stabbed in it, you know. I don't know anymore. And it's so weird because we used to, you know, mess with people who used to go to health stores, health food stores, like, ooh, you know, there's the gross people, they're eating healthy. Well, we're literally eating fertilizer that tastes good because it has sugar in it. It's the strangest shit, man. We are so ass backwards, and we have been formed to believe the stupidest reality in the world, man. It's just like, why do we laugh at Japanese students when every single morning they have to go tend to their own little garden at school? And then during their first break, they have to go cut from their garden while they're being educated on the food that they're growing. And then they prepare the food that they're growing to eat. So they grow it, they understand the nutrients behind it, to eat it, to understand the health benefits of the human body. And why do Japanese people live to be like 195,000 years old? Is because they're very aware of what they're putting in their body, but not us good old U.S. citizens. Fuck no. Give us some toxic fucking grass fucking fertilizer, and we'll do lines of that shit. We'll sell it like cocaine, and we'll poop it out, and we'll redo it. You know what I'm saying? We'll poop it out or redo it. So, so, you know, it's just weird. It doesn't make me, it is what it is, right? I've been covering these conspiracies for a long time. I've seen the world for what it is for a long time, and I know a lot of my viewers and listeners have seen the world for what it is for a long time. And the important thing is to continue these conversations and just to continue to talk about this stuff, to continue to irritate the shit out of people until people kind of ruffle up a little bit and start realizing that maybe we should pay a little bit more attention. Maybe during the holidays, religion and politics are the things we should be talking about at the dinner table. Maybe those are the things that should be addressed the most, because we just pretended they don't exist, and look at what happens when we don't. Look at what happens when we become less knowledgeable about current events. Look what happens when we become less attached to the most important things when it comes to this country's finances, national security. We have been taught that national security isn't important. We've been taught that you don't need to worry about national security. When, in fact, yeah, we should all, in our own form, in the non-radicalized way the left made it, in our own form, we should all be nationalists first. I use that word on purpose because they weaponize that word. We should all love our country and make sure that these borders and the people within the borders are 100% before we worry about the rest of the world. It is not our job. It has never been our job, never been part of our Constitution to say that we are the daddies of the world and that we are to fund and finance every country on this fucking planet and to kill any dictator who disagrees with our policies. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that. Everything in the Constitution has to do with us, not the government. It has to do with us. And that's why they want to make it a working document. And they can kiss my white ass, girl. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, yeah, man, here we are. Tomorrow, Thursday, maybe we'll cover that shit tomorrow too. You know, start talking about some of those movies, and maybe I'll find some of those cool cartoons where they're making cheese with their wee-wee. You know what I'm saying? That Mickey Mouse movie? That kind of tripped me out. That's not normal. No wonder why I like cheese, though. It makes sense when you really think about it. It kind of makes sense. I love cheese. It's weird. It's really weird. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Rocci Stucci. You're listening to the Rocci Stucci Show. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, if you need graphics done, images done, if you need your podcast package, anything you need in the media realm, I am your guy. Go to StucciMedia.com or send me an email at rocky@StucciMedia.com. Ladies and gentlemen, catch this show every Monday morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm the Emotional Meatball, Rocci Stucci. Ladies and gentlemen, from my family to yours, much love, much respect. And don't forget rule number 1. Oh, I love saying this part. Don't take shit from nobody. I love you guys.